Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. We all talk about, I talk about it on here, many other people talk about it on YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever it is, Facebook, all these other places. You hear people often talk about getting ourselves ready for when the doo-doo hits the fan, when it all falls apart. Getting our team, our tribe, our crew, our mag, our community, ourselves, our loved ones, whatever it is, getting us all ready for what to do when it all happens. Have you ever stopped to think about that? That's very reactionary. It's not being really proactive. You're not doing anything to actually prevent things from collapsing. You're just figuring out how to react properly from when they do collapse. And I know the first thing that you're going to think of is, we can't stop World War III. We can't stop the U.S. dollar from collapsing. We can't stop the U.S. economy. We can't stop some type of attack. You're correct. You most likely are not able to. And I could be wrong in this, but I have long since believed that our voting power really isn't going to stop it either. But I believe that we can stop a collapse or prevent a collapse in our own areas. And I think that's one area that as preppers, as homesteaders, patriots, that we have really neglected. It's more exciting, or it seems like it does more to go and petition your state leaders or your federal leaders to do something. It seems more exciting or more worthwhile to join a big political party and be a delegate and push for a particular candidate or raise money for them or try to stop this bill or promote this or that bill or all these kind of things. And maybe it makes some change, maybe. But it's not guaranteed. But if you put that same kind of effort or even more into your local community, you can make changes. You can turn things around. You can, outside of the whole political system, you can make changes right where you live in a small community. And as much as this sounds very harsh, I think most people don't do it because it really does require a lot of work. It's a lot of one-on-one work where you're volunteering your time, you're helping out, those people that are in need, or helping local churches or some kind of charity, or like what we're doing with, fire and EMS and fire and rescue and all that kind of stuff. You're actually having to put, physical effort into what you're doing. And I think a lot of people they don't see the need in that anymore. Everything is, well, the government will take care of it. My tax dollars pay for that kind of stuff, and so that'll take care of it. And it's that very attitude that's really got us to the place that we're at today. Because a long time ago, local communities took care of themselves. It's very biblical, taking care of the widows and the orphans, taking care of the people in need. Your neighbor's house burns to the ground and everyone comes together and rebuilds it. They don't have to run to FEMA and the insurance company and any other type of government assistance to get it done. Everyone just came together and they put a new house up. They helped, everyone brought a little bit of their own stuff to give so that person had some things starting off again. This was very common, and it's really been lost today in our modern world because, we've become so hyper dependent upon the big system, right? And so we think that the only way that we can change stuff is through the big system. So, we still see this get out and vote campaign. I've said this for years, just as a little side note here. There's only one thing that both liberals and conservatives agree on. They agree completely on, and that's get out and vote. Every election cycle, you hear the most far left bat doo-doo crazy people and the far right people, both of them, saying the same thing. Get out and vote, get out and vote, get out and vote. They don't tell you the same thing of get out and help your community, get out and work in your community, get out and help those in need, get out and be an example in your community, get out there and shine the light and the love of Yeshua in your community. Be a beacon of hope in your community. Bring people together and teach them how to survive this kind of stuff. Build your community strong so that those communities don't collapse. Yeah, they're going to feel things when things fall apart, but that community isn't going to collapse. You don't hear people talk about that. And I think that this is really an area that we as prepared-minded, self-sufficient-minded people should really, and Bible-believing people, because I know most of you are, this is an area that we should shine in. This is an area that it's always been that way, that societies and communities have always done those things. Only in recent times, probably since World War II, is when we really started seeing things shift away from that. And people started shifting towards social welfare for help, government for help, all this kind of stuff. Where people stopped looking at each other in their community for assistance and for help and for guidance and for support and for education, and they looked elsewhere. They looked to the big brother for that. And then now we're in the place that we're at. And so while I advocate completely preparing ourselves individually and our groups and our communities for when things fall apart, I also advocate for us to do the things now so that potentially our communities don't fall apart, or at least don't fall apart that bad, not like other outside sources. Now, does that mean that you're going to go out there and build some alternative electrical system for your whole community, alternative water systems? I mean, that would be great if you can do that. Most people can't, though. No, what I'm saying is that rekindle that brotherhood, that kindred spirit, that what Americans used to have, where we looked at each other as friends and neighbors and brothers and sisters, and we helped each other. Now, that's something that America has been known for and is lost in the last, 50, 75 years. And so rekindle that and bring people together, and then teach them that, hey, we can figure things out on our own. We don't have to go to government. If you need help because you lost your job and you can't afford food, between us and the churches and all these other people, we'll do some food drives and we'll help you, and we'll help you get a job. Or you got injured. Oh, you got injured and you can't cut your hay this year because you've had surgery. All right, well, we'll all come over there and we'll all do it for you. These kind of things were commonplace, and they still are to a certain extent in certain parts of the country. But if we build really strong communities, areas that we live in, and I know that not every community in the country is even really capable of this anymore, but there are places, there are conservative, traditional, rural places in this country that you can still do these things because they still exist. It needs some help. There needs some infusion of life and energy into these local communities to really rekindle this. And if we do this, we're not being a reactionary. We're being proactive. We're proactively trying to build up these local areas, these local communities, rural areas, so that when things do fall apart on the outside world, the little community itself doesn't fall apart nearly as bad. They don't panic nearly as bad because they already know that they've got strong friendships and bonds with the people around them, and they'll all pull together. They'll all pull together, and they'll figure out a way to make it work. They'll figure out how to barter and trade and to make the things that they need. This is how communities used to work. And we can do that once again. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be preparing for when things collapse in a reactionary way, but we should also be putting our efforts and energy into our communities now. I mean, I fully believe, and this is one thing that I have said for years now, that as a believer and as someone that follows Yeshua and as someone that believes fully in the Bible, we have to understand that there are some concepts of prepping that in some ways kind of contradict what the Bible teaches us we should do. This idea that we should just have everything for ourselves. We'll shut the door. We won't let anyone in. We're not going to help anyone. We're only going to focus on our own needs. All this kind of stuff isn't really biblical. I'm not saying prepping isn't biblical. I said those concepts, so where I'm just going to, hide in my bunker and let the whole world die, that's not really very biblical. And we should be trying to spread the light in the world, his light in the world. We should try to help each other. Galatians 6:10 says that if you have the ability, the opportunity to help others, then you should. And that's something that we should be doing if we're able to. And as a preparedness community, as homesteaders, people that are, you know, a little bit more ahead of other people when it comes to understanding what's going on, how to survive, how to stock up, how to train, how to develop these skills, we should be doing that because we have the opportunity. We have the ability now to reach out to other people. And if we find the right communities and we work hard within those communities and don't come in like, you know, I know everything. You listen to me. No, go in there with a servant's heart, with a servant's attitude, which is, it's like Yeshua, it's Christ-like, right? Go in and try to serve in these communities. Find out where there's a need. You know, is there a need helping veterans? Is there a need helping elderly? Is there a need helping, you know, certain churches or certain charities? Is, you know, maybe there's, you know, a lot of poverty with, you know, children that need help. Maybe it's after school care, you know, whatever it is. Volunteer at the fire department, whatever it is. Find out where it is and start working in that and start meeting other people and figuring out how you can start reaching out to others and build a community there, strengthen that community. And people will start following you, and people start seeing that, hey, there's this group of people over here, and they're doing things. They're doing things in our small little rural, kind of dried up little community, because so many of them are, because so many people have moved off to the big cities, and that's really lost that close-knit community feel. It is still there in the older generation, but not in the younger. And when someone is taking that initiative, taking that step forward and actually starting to do things, other people will start realizing, hey, there's activity out here, there's life out here, and I want to be part of it. And what you're doing is that you are proactively preparing for collapse, not reactively. You're building helping build a strong community so that it doesn't fall apart when the rest of the world does. And really, that's probably the best way, you know, to actually prevent things falling apart for you. That's what we're doing at our homesteads, right? That's why we're learning how to grow food and garden and raise animals and have solar systems and alternative water systems and all this. It's not a reactionary, it's proactive. We're doing it so that when things fall apart in the outside world, they don't hit us that hard. And if we do that in our communities, then our communities don't fall apart as much. And you don't have near as much to worry about with all the bad people around you that's going to come after you if you have a strong community that's working together. Doesn't mean that everyone's going to get it or everyone's going to be on board or that it's always going to be perfect. But I'd say you have a much better chance of surviving when you have less adversaries around you and you have more people that you have built relationships with that are also contributing, and they've put you know, skin in the game into making that community strong. And when things fall apart, they want to see it survive. They want to see it, you know, it thrive. And so I think that's really a better way for us to be preparing, especially for those of us that live in rural communities. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and your communities and prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.